Hey amigos, what's happening? Hope all's well with you guys, and I'm just gonna cut to the chase. The last video you saw, went to Texas on the Shovelhead. It made it there and back, but not without its problems. Well, I don't want to say problems, but not without incident, you know. Well, no, not even incident, but anyway, not without old bike stuff. So one of the things that happened, well, let me show you what I'm doing now. As you can see, check it out. I've got the motorcycle on the rack. I've got parts laying here. There's my intake manifold. Gas tanks are off because they're laying over there on that table. Let me tell you what happened. It seems to be like everybody in Louisiana does like 5 miles under the speed limit or 10 miles under the speed limit, and I guess that's because of highway patrol or the sheriffs or whatever. And most of the Louisiana on those 2-lane highways, and not the interstate, but on the 2-lane highways, the speed limit's mostly 55 miles an hour. Needless to say, we got stuck behind a bunch of slow drivers, and especially more than one logging truck. Anyway, going around these things, I guess I got above 3 grand, you know, 3,000 RPM one too many times on this bike, which is above 70 miles an hour for the way this gearing is. And then this happened. This Mickey Mouse ingenuity of an exhaust bracket where somebody took a part that wasn't meant for the pipes that were on here. They welded on another piece of metal and drilled a hole in it, and that broke. That's what connected to the front exhaust. And all the stress was on the head right up here, and it's not going to get you a very good picture of what happened, but I'll show you a picture. But if you take a look, yeah, all the stress was on that bolt, which caused that crack right there. I've had some people say, well, you can always JB weld it or have it welded up and fixed or whatever, but you know, I don't know. I think I'd rather just get another head because I'd hate to go to the trouble of fixing it and then it fail again. Anyhow, so I said all this to say this, that I am finally taking this motor apart. After all, front cylinder is burning oil anyway. It was a pretty nasty oily mess inside the exhaust, you know, once I got home. In fact, I'll show it to you. This is the front exhaust pipe, and see how nasty and oily that is? And this is the rear. See how nice and clean and dry? I mean, other than carbon. Yeah. So this gives me a perfect excuse to finally take apart the top end, and even I'm going to take the bottom end down to scooters when I get it out, and have Kenny have his guy go through the bottom end just to freshen it up. I have no idea what kind of shape the bottom end is in. I'm kind of excited. So I'm going to end up taking this stuff apart, take it down to scooters, and when I get it back, I'll have a fresh engine and I'll know exactly what I got from front to back, bottom to top, all that stuff, and it'll be awesome. Okay, I didn't film this, but you know, oh well, you guys might have an idea how push rods come out. But got the push rods out, they're laying down there. And I've got my head bolts laying right here for the front cylinder. I never worked on a Shovelhead engine before, so how hard could it be, right? This head is about ready to be popped off of here, so I get to see what it looks like down inside the cylinder. Okay, my mallet is missing in action, so maybe a piece of wood and a hammer. So let's see. Alright, here's the head. It's got a lot of carbon buildup inside of it. That doesn't look healthy right there. Of course, a lot of carbon buildup. So far, the cylinder doesn't look too bad. I don't know. Then again, what do I know? Check it out. Got a lot of carbon buildup on the top side of the piston. But one thing I don't see anymore, I don't see any of the cross hatching. So anyway, I'm gonna get this other head off and see what it looks like. Alright, I got the head bolts out of the other one. I didn't film that, you know, boring stuff, but let's see what's inside of this one, okay? Looks like it moved. Oh, yeah. That doesn't look too promising either. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just typical. A lot of crud and crap. I can barely see the remnants of some cross hatching, but not bad, I don't guess. You know? Okay, let me catch my breath. That bottom end was a little heavier than I anticipated. Plus I'm in a hurry, but as you can see, it's out of the motorcycle. So in other words, here they all are right there. So got them all in the van, man, and with about an hour or so left to spare to get it to Kenny. This is all the time I got left to get it to him. So anyway, and hey amigos, it is now Thanksgiving Day. It's been several weeks since I recorded me taking the engine apart on the Shovelhead. So let me just go ahead and update you on what is happening now. We had a little bit of a hiccup. It looks like I'm going to be the one building this motor, because when I got it to Kenny, several days went by, he got my cases split for me, and we worked out a deal where if I get the paint off the cases, you know, I'll just get a good deal with the deal. During all of this, their guy decided that he wanted to go on vacation for a couple of months because he's burnt out on doing motors, and that's the whole reason why I took my motor to somebody else, because I thought, you know, it'd be good to have a warranty done on the work, because if I did it, it'd be on me, but if something were wrong with the motor, it'd be on somebody else to no cost. But anyway, being that the guy, their guy that is about, you know, he's in his 80s. I'm thinking, well, somebody burnt out who's been working their whole life, taking a vacation for a couple of months, there's probably a chance they're not going to come back from vacation. But then again, I don't know. So I wasn't going to chance it. So I went ahead and picked up my stuff. Kenny went ahead and, you know, sandblasted my cases, got the paint off of them. I went ahead and put new crank bearings on here. Kenny had used some heat to get these things apart. Went ahead and just took the old bearings off and managed to put a new crank shaft bearing or output shaft bearing on there, or whatever you call it. I have yet to put these things together. I don't have my heads with me, but I took my heads down to a local machine shop, automotive machine shop. This guy who does race cars, he's a name around here, so he's not some shade tree type. Well, excuse me, didn't mean to use that term, Josh, but anyway, he's not a, well, you know what I mean. He knows what he's doing. He's been in business for years and years and years and years, and everybody knows him, so he's a good guy. In fact, the company I work for does business with him, so he's going to do my heads for me as far as the new valves. Oh, and by the way, I got a hold of some new old stock valves and springs, and I'll show you why. Let me show you this. Okay, this right here is my front exhaust valve spring. As you can see, it's definitely seen better days, and it's not because I'm holding on to it. Check this out. Okay, so now you know I'm not squeezing it. It was obviously putting some uneven amount of stress on that stem, because I literally had to take a hammer and not just tap, but I'm talking about wail away on that valve. I mean, whack that valve out of that head. At the same time, that told me that my valve stem was warped a bit, and so I put it up against a straight edge, and yeah, I could see it wasn't straight anymore. So I thought, you know what? I got online and I found somebody selling some new old stock valves. Haven't been used, new old stock springs. So I'm putting all new springs and valves in it. It definitely needs new valve guides, because the valve guides were not in great shape. So since I don't have the means to put valve guides in, and even to ream them to make them the right side, that's why I took them down to the machine shop and let them do it. And so also I saw that my cylinders were bored 20 over already. My pistons were not in the best of shape. In fact, I'll show you. I mean, they're not that bad, but I just don't like what I see. I mean, I got some scuffing, some lines and scratches. Well, there you go. They look like that. But if I'm going to do a fresh top end and the bottom, why not have new pistons and rings? So I'm getting some 10 over pistons, and the machine shop Scarborough Engines is going to fit each piston to each cylinder that I'm going to, you know, that I'm going to use. And I'm going to be the one to assemble the motor though. So that's that. And also, hey amigos, I don't know if this is a continuation of a video I'm already working on, or if this is, hey, what's up amigos, last time I saw you, yada 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 yada. But I am still working on the Shovelhead. It's several days later. Check this out. I got the bottom end put together and put back in the motorcycle. Went ahead and got my pistons on the rods, and I've got the ring gaps orientated like they're supposed to be according to the book. But one thing I couldn't figure out, check this out, I could not find a dime's worth of difference in the cutaways for the valve clearance. So what I did read, and if you guys ever get to doing something like this, there's a little webbing right in here, and according to the book, the webbing on the inside of the piston is supposed to be towards the right side of the engine. So I read that after I got the pistons put on, And then I went back and looked, and I had one the wrong way, so I had to turn them around, which was no big deal. So anyway, as you may have seen in the past, I normally put in pistons into a cylinder before they're even on the connecting rods by using my fingers, but I decided to try something different, which is really nothing different. It's just different to me because I've never used them before. So Mark allowed me to borrow his ring compressing tool, so I'm gonna see if I can make that happen. I never used one of these before, so you know, enough talking and yammering my hammer. Okay, that was not as easy or as finesseful as I thought it might be because I've never done it before. At least maybe I just don't have the feel for it. But I got it on, right? But guess what I just figured out? Looking at my head, my front head, the oiling hole as far as draining back down into the case, when it's all said and done, it's located over here. Well, this is the hole that's supposed to match with it. Actually, that's not even true. It's over here. So this is the wrong cylinder for this side, and it's backwards, facing the wrong way. It's got to go over here. So I'll see you guys in a minute, okay? Okay, got it on. Got both cylinders on. The oil holes are where they're supposed to be. And another thing I noticed was, I'm guessing the machine shop that did the work did this, but there's no paint on these cylinders. There used to be paint on there, but I guess it came off, or they took it, I don't know. I don't understand the process. So I'm not pulling those cylinders off. If they get painted, it's going to be while it's on the bike, and I'm just going to mask the crap out of this motorcycle anywheres where there, anyway, you get the idea. So it's going to be what it's going to be. Anyway, I need to go ahead and bolt these cylinders down. Oh yeah, and by the way, in case you was wanting to see all the details, this is by no means a how-to, because I'm not a how-to guy. In fact, a lot of times I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm doing stuff for the first time. This is just me doing what I'm doing and you witnessing. So anyway, and if I make any mistakes, I'll make sure to include them, you know, turn the camera back on and show you what I did. Something happened. How about that? That is pretty freaking cool. It always amazes me whenever I have an engine that is completely in pieces. I mean, from the bottom up. I mean, I've done plenty of top ends, and that amazes me enough to have an entire bottom end apart, and I gotta assemble that and assemble the motor, put it in the motorcycle, and have it run. I mean, the whole process, every time I do something like that, which isn't very often, but I always had that nagging feeling, is this really gonna work? But I guess this is gonna work, because it's working. And that's pretty cool. I mean, this is pretty freaking awesome. Now, the one thing I haven't done to this thing when I was putting it back together is that I have not messed with the points at all. All I did when I took the motor apart was I scribed a mark on the points plate and also on the inside of the nose cone, so that, you know, when I put the thing back together, it'll go back right where it was. I do know that when I was in Texas, you guys who saw that video, I said I had to reset my points cap because it had closed on me. Well, it wasn't because the set screw had loosened up. It was because that rubbing block had worn itself down. Now, when something like that happens and you reset your gap, it's because your rubbing block wore down. That repositions as far as your static timing. In other words, that affects the dwell. So I got to go back in there and reset that. I made a timing mark on the stator rotor and on the engine case as far as where top dead center is when I had it all apart. That way I don't have to take that plug off the side of the engine case and get oil everywhere, you know. So if I want to use a strobe light, I have the means of making it a clean job, which is pretty cool. So that's one thing I got to do. But then again, since this thing has been down, I've been used to Evos for the last 4 or 5 weeks, and I have to also remember this is not an Evo, you know. It's got a much beefier bottom end. I did my homework, and Shovelhead flywheels and Evo flywheels are different sizes as far as thickness, so they're a lot heavier. So imagine if this thing had Evo flywheels, which I don't know if that's possible or not, which I'm not even going to attempt it, if it would have a lot more pep. I don't know. Anyway, but check it out. It's actually a running motorcycle once again. I mean, I know I said that about the Tramp when I redid that top end, and I said that about the Ironhead, but I mean, I've never done a Shovelhead before. Much to my surprise, they are a very simple machine to work with. Now, I will say, in comparison, Shovelhead Evo, with an Evo, everything's just committed to go where it's going to go. With a Shovelhead, when you put stuff together, like namely the heads, you got to hold your mouth right. Anyway, you shovel guys know what I'm talking about. But anyhow, here it is, alive and thriving once more. I can definitely tell I'm not doing no 70 at the moment, but it's doing Shovelhead speed. So I don't really want to push it too hard right now. It doesn't even have 500 miles on the motor yet, and I don't want to take it over $3,000, which I don't know the correct break-in period for a fresh rebuild on a Shovelhead, and this guy's just going to pull right out in front of me. Thanks a lot, pal. But anyway, you guys who are familiar with, you know, Shovelhead rebuilds and you've messed with them more times than I have, leave a comment down below. You know, what's the right and correct RPM for breaking these motors in? Oh man, this guy's going all the way to my house. Okay, that probably wasn't the right thing to do on a fresh rebuild. I hope I don't have to pay for that later. Because I will say the last time I did that in Louisiana, passing up a logging truck, I broke my exhaust bracket. But anyhow, this is just way freaking cool. I know I've already said that. So let's get to the house and, you know, see if this is actually a successful rebuild. You know what I mean? Because I think every successful rebuild ought to come with no oil leaks. At least what oil leak there may be, let it be minimal. Oh, it feels so good to be back on the sketch machine. Let's see. Please, 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 please don't be leaking oil. Ooh. I see no oil leaks on the crankshaft seal. That's nice. No oil leaks up here, up here, up here. No oil leaks from the pushrod tubes, and none from the base gasket, none from the lifter blocks. Man, and I guess that's that. I mean, it's a running motorcycle once more, and I'm just too thrilled to know that this motorcycle is up and going again, ready for the road. I mean, I don't know, it's not broke in yet. I think it's 500 miles and change the oil, another 1,000 miles, change the oil again, and then it's ready. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The darn thing runs. Isn't that something? So, I have no idea what I'm filming next, but hopefully it's enough for me to keep my attention, maybe even yours. So until then, you guys know the drill. You keep the rubber side down. You be good to yourselves. Oh, and Merry Christmas.